Have you ever said something in anger that you later regretted, or felt paralyzed by fear when you wanted to take action? Maybe you've let sadness, stress, or anxiety cloud your judgment. The truth is, when emotions control you, they can ruin opportunities, relationships, and even your future. But here's the good news. Emotions don't have to be the enemy. You can master them, you can conquer them, and when you do, you gain the ability to live life on your terms, not ruled by feelings, but guided by clarity, wisdom, and strength. Introduction. In these chapters, you'll learn not just how to control emotions temporarily, but how to build lasting emotional mastery. You'll discover why emotions can be so overwhelming, and more importantly, how to transform them into powerful allies instead of destructive enemies. By the end of this journey, you'll have practical tools, timeless lessons, and daily habits that allow you to take control of your emotions and, in doing so, take control of your life. This book is not about suppressing emotions. It's about understanding them, redirecting them, and using them as fuel for the life you want to live. Lesson 1. Emotions are messengers, not masters. One of the biggest mistakes people make about emotions is believing that emotions are enemies, something to be feared, suppressed, or fought against. But here's the truth. Emotions are not the enemy. They are messengers. Emotions are signals from the deepest part of your mind and body. They exist to tell you something, to give you information, to prepare you for action. But too often, instead of listening to the message, we let the emotion itself take control. When that happens, emotions stop being helpful messengers and start becoming destructive masters. The first step to conquering your emotions is to understand their true role in your life. Asterisk. Why emotions exist. Every emotion has a purpose. Fear exists to protect you from danger. Anger exists to alert you to injustice or crossed boundaries. Sadness exists to help you process loss. Even joy is a messenger. It tells you that something aligns with your values, desires, or needs. But here's the problem. Your brain evolved thousands of years ago in a world of wild animals, constant threats, and life or death survival. That same emotional system now operates in the modern world, which means fear doesn't just warn you of predators, it can also flare up before a job interview. Anger doesn't just prepare you to defend yourself physically, it can erupt when someone cuts you off in traffic. The signal itself is not bad. The issue is when we confuse the message with reality. The fire alarm is meant to warn you of smoke, not to burn down the house. Emotions are like alarms. They alert you, but they should not run your life. The fire alarm metaphor. Imagine you're in your house and suddenly the smoke alarm goes off. The loud beeping is uncomfortable, even stressful. But would you obey the alarm blindly? Would you panic and start running in circles? Of course not. You would pause, check for smoke, and act appropriately. Maybe blow out a candle, maybe open a window, or maybe call the fire department. This is how you must treat emotions. Anger, fear, sadness, anxiety, they are alarms. If you panic, they control you. If you pause, listen, and then respond wisely, you master them. Emotions are not facts. One of the most dangerous misconceptions is believing that emotions are facts. You feel worthless, so you think you are worthless. You feel afraid, so you assume there is danger. You feel angry, so you conclude someone is against you. But emotions are not facts. They are interpretations. They are influenced by your thoughts, your beliefs, your memories, and even your physical state. A bad night's sleep can make you more irritable. A stressful week can make small problems feel overwhelming. When you remember this, you create space. You can say, "This is what I'm feeling," but it doesn't automatically mean it's true. That distance is the first step toward emotional mastery. Naming the messenger. Psychologists call this labeling emotions. It's a simple but powerful practice. When you feel an emotion rising, pause and name it. This is anger. This is fear. This is sadness. This is frustration. It may sound too simple, but studies show that labeling an emotion actually reduces its intensity. Why? Because naming creates separation. You are no longer fully inside the emotion, you are observing it. Instead of being consumed by anger, you are noticing anger. Instead of drowning in fear, you are identifying fear. This small step reminds you that you are not your emotions. You are the one experiencing them, and that gives you the power to choose how to respond. Emotions as teachers. Here's another way to look at emotions. Every emotion is a teacher. Anger teaches you where your boundaries are. Fear teaches you where you lack preparation or clarity. Sadness teaches you what you value deeply. Joy teaches you what matters most to your heart. Instead of resisting emotions, ask, what is this emotion trying to tell me? That question shifts you from being ruled by emotion to learning from emotion. For example, anger may be telling you, this person crossed my boundary. I need to communicate clearly. Fear may be saying, you need to prepare more before this presentation. Sadness may be reminding you, this relationship meant a lot. Take time to honor it. Once you receive the message, the emotion's job is done. You don't need to let it linger and take control. When emotions become masters. The real danger is when emotions stop being signals and start becoming commands. Anger says, they wronged you. But instead of addressing it calmly, you explode, damage relationships, and regret it later. Fear says, this might go badly. But instead of preparing, you freeze and miss opportunities. Sadness says, you lost something important. But instead of grieving and healing, you sink into hopelessness. In these cases, the messenger has become the master. And when emotions control your actions, they often lead to destruction. Practical exercise. Pause and listen. Here's a simple practice to begin conquering emotions. Pause. When you feel a strong emotion rising, don't react instantly. Take a breath. Name. Identify the emotion. This is anger. This is fear. Listen. Ask, what is this emotion trying to tell me? Decide. Choose your response consciously, not automatically. This four-step process takes only seconds, but it transforms how you interact with emotions. A real-life example. Imagine you're driving and another car cuts you off. Instantly, anger flares. If you let anger control you, you might honk, shout, or chase them. But if you pause, name it, and listen, you realize, I feel disrespected. But reacting aggressively won't help. I'll just keep driving calmly. The anger's message was, pay attention, your safety matters. You received the message, you acted wisely, and the emotion lost its control. The deeper truth. You cannot conquer emotions by suppressing them. Suppression only makes them stronger, like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It eventually bursts out. True mastery comes from acknowledging emotions, listening to their message, and then choosing how to respond. When you see emotions as messengers, not masters, you step into true freedom. You are no longer a slave to your feelings. You are the interpreter, the decision-maker, the master of your inner world. Key takeaway. Emotions are not your rulers. They are your messengers. Treat them as signals, not commands. Listen to them, learn from them, but never let them take control. The moment you understand this, you take the first powerful step toward conquering your emotions and, by extension, conquering your life. Lesson 2. Awareness is emotional power. Most people believe that emotions appear out of nowhere and there's nothing they can do about them. One moment they feel calm, the next they feel anger boiling, fear rising, or sadness pulling them down. It seems sudden, uncontrollable, almost like being caught in a storm without warning. But here's the truth. Emotions rarely strike without signs. They build, they whisper before they shout. And the difference between being controlled by your emotions and conquering them comes down to one word: awareness. Awareness is emotional power. It's the ability to notice what is happening inside you before it explodes outside of you. Without awareness, emotions rule you. With awareness, you rule them. Asterisk. The hidden power of awareness. Awareness is like turning on a light in a dark room. The obstacles were always there, but until the light came on, you stumbled and tripped over them. Once the light is on, nothing has changed in the room, but your ability to navigate it has completely transformed. The same is true with emotions. Anger, fear, sadness, they exist whether you're aware of them or not. But when you shine awareness on them, you stop stumbling blindly, you see clearly, and you choose wisely. Why we lose awareness? So why do so many people lack emotional awareness? Autopilot living. Most of us move through life reacting, not reflecting. We don't stop to notice our emotions, we just obey them. Distraction. With constant noise, phones, screens, notifications, we're often too distracted to notice what we feel. Suppression. Some people were taught that emotions are weak or unacceptable, so they bury feelings instead of noticing them. Speed of life. We rush from one task to the next, never pausing long enough to observe what's happening inside us. Without awareness, emotions grow unchecked, building into outbursts, breakdowns, or burnout. Awareness creates choice. Here's the key. You cannot change what you do not notice. Awareness is the first step in conquering emotions because it creates space between the emotion and your response. Without awareness, anger appears and you yell. With awareness, anger appears and you notice, I feel anger rising. That pause allows you to choose how to respond. The emotion doesn't disappear, but its control over you does. Practical awareness technique number 1, the emotional check-in. Set a timer 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and evening. When it goes off, pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Where do I feel it in my body? What triggered this feeling? This simple check-in strengthens your awareness muscles. Over time, you'll notice emotions sooner before they take over. Practical awareness technique number 2, naming the feeling. Labeling emotions is one of the fastest ways to regain control. If you feel anxious, say to yourself, this is anxiety. If you feel anger, say, this is anger. Studies show that naming an emotion reduces its intensity. Why? Because when you name it, you move from being inside the emotion to observing it. You step out of the storm and onto higher ground. Practical awareness. Technique number 3, body awareness. Emotions live in the body as much as the mind. Anger tightens the jaw, fear quickens the breath, sadness makes the body heavy. By scanning your body, you can often catch emotions before they fully surface. Practice pausing and asking, what is my body telling me right now? Maybe your shoulders are tense, that's frustration. Maybe your chest feels heavy, that's sadness. The body is an early warning system for emotions. The movie scene method. Another powerful awareness exercise is to imagine your life as a movie. Step outside yourself and imagine you're watching the current moment as a scene on a screen. Ask, what is this character feeling right now? What's causing that feeling? What would be the best response for this character? This shift in perspective creates distance. You're no longer trapped inside the emotion. You're the director observing from above. Awareness versus suppression. It's important to note that awareness is not the same as suppression. Suppression is ignoring or denying emotions, stuffing them down, pretending they don't exist. Awareness is the opposite. It's noticing emotions fully, without judgment. Suppression makes emotions stronger. Awareness makes emotions manageable. A real-life story, Daniel's anger. Daniel often struggled with anger. A small comment at work could make him explode. At home, even small frustrations led to shouting matches. He hated the way he reacted, but he felt powerless. One day, Daniel began practicing awareness. He set reminders on his phone to pause and check his emotions. At first, he barely noticed the signals, but over time, he began to see them. His shoulders tensed before anger came. His heart raced before shouting started. Instead of reacting instantly, he learned to say to himself, "This is anger. It's rising." That tiny moment of awareness gave him control. Within months, his outbursts decreased. He still felt anger, but he was no longer mastered by it. Awareness became his superpower. Awareness creates responsibility. Here's a deeper truth. Awareness makes you responsible. Once you notice your emotions, you can no longer blame them for your behavior. You can't say, "I couldn't help it," because awareness shows you that you always have a choice. This can feel uncomfortable at first. It's easier to blame emotions, but in truth, responsibility is freedom. When you realize you can choose, you reclaim your power. Daily awareness ritual. To build awareness into your daily life, try this ritual. Morning reflection. Before your day begins, ask, "What emotions am I carrying from yesterday?" Midday, pause. At lunch, ask, "What am I feeling right now? How is it shaping my behavior?" Evening review. Before bed, ask, "What emotions did I experience today and how did I respond to them?" This simple daily practice rewires your brain to notice emotions automatically. The deeper truth. Awareness doesn't erase emotions. It doesn't prevent them from arising, but it changes everything about how you experience them. Without awareness, you're a puppet, pulled by strings of anger, fear, and sadness. With awareness, you're the puppeteer. You see the strings, and you decide what to do with them. The storm may rage, but awareness gives you shelter. The fire alarm may sound, but awareness helps you check calmly for smoke. Awareness is the difference between being ruled by emotions and ruling over them. Key takeaway. Awareness is emotional power. Without it, emotions drive your life. With it, you drive your emotions. Notice the signals, name them, feel them in your body, and choose your response. Awareness doesn't silence emotions, but it transforms them from masters into messengers you can guide with wisdom and strength. Lesson 3. Reframing your inner dialogue. If awareness is the first step to conquering your emotions, then the second step is learning to change the story you tell yourself. Because emotions are not created by events themselves, they are created by the meaning you attach to those events. And that meaning comes from your inner dialogue, the constant stream of thoughts running through your mind every single day. Here's the truth. What you repeatedly say to yourself becomes what you feel, and what you feel becomes how you act. That's why your inner dialogue is one of the most powerful tools you have for emotional mastery. Asterisk. The silent narrator in your head. Every person has a narrator in their mind. It's that voice that comments on everything. "This is too hard. I'll never figure this out. Why does this always happen to me?" Sometimes the narrator is encouraging. "I can handle this. I've been through worse. One step at a time." The narrator never stops. The question is not whether the voice exists. It's whether it serves you or sabotages you. Most people don't even notice their inner dialogue. It runs automatically, shaped by past experiences, childhood influences, cultural conditioning, and repeated habits of thought. Left unchecked, this dialogue often becomes negative, critical, and destructive, and over time it shapes emotions and ultimately lives. Emotions follow thoughts. Think about this. The same event can create totally different emotions depending on the story you tell yourself. If someone doesn't reply to your message, you could think, "They're ignoring me. I must have upset them." That story creates anxiety. Or you could think, "They're probably busy. I'll hear from them later." That story creates calm. Same event, different story, different emotion. This is why reframing your inner dialogue is so powerful. You may not always control what happens to you, but you can always control the story you tell yourself about it. and the story determines the feeling. The negative narrator. Common patterns. There are common destructive thought patterns that feed negative emotions. Catastrophizing, blowing things out of proportion. This mistake will ruin everything. Personalizing, making everything about you. They looked upset. I must have done something wrong. Overgeneralizing, turning one event into a permanent pattern. I failed once. I always fail. Black and white thinking, seeing everything as all good or all bad. If I'm not perfect, I'm worthless. Mind reading, assuming you know what others think. They must think I'm stupid. These thought patterns fuel emotions like anxiety, anger, shame, and hopelessness. The good news? They can all be reframed. Reframing, changing the story. Reframing means deliberately choosing a new perspective, a new way of describing the situation to yourself. You don't deny reality, you reinterpret it in a way that empowers you instead of defeating you. Examples: instead of, I failed again, I'm terrible at this. Reframe, I failed, but every failure is practice. I'm learning, instead of, they embarrassed me, I'll never forgive them. Reframe, their words say more about them than about me. I choose peace. Instead of, this challenge is impossible. Reframe, this challenge is difficult, but I've faced challenges before. The event doesn't change. The meaning changes. And when meaning changes, emotions follow. Practical reframing technique number 1, the thought journal. Each day, write down negative thoughts you notice. Then, next to each one, write a reframe. Example: thought, I'm always anxious before meetings. Reframe, anxiety means I care about doing well. I can use that energy to prepare. This daily exercise trains your mind to automatically look for empowering frames. Practical reframing technique number 2, ask better questions. Your inner dialogue often takes the form of questions, and bad questions create bad emotions. Bad question, why am I such a failure? Creates shame. Better question, what can I learn from this? Creates curiosity and growth. Bad question, why does this always happen to me? Creates helplessness. Better question, how can I respond differently next time? Creates responsibility. Your emotions follow the questions you ask. Ask better questions, and you'll feel better emotions. Practical reframing technique number 3, the friend test. When your inner dialogue is harsh, ask yourself, would I say this to my best friend? You wouldn't tell a friend, you're hopeless. You'd say, this is hard, but you'll get through it. You wouldn't tell a friend, you're worthless. You'd say, you've made mistakes, but you're still valuable. If you wouldn't say it to a friend, don't say it to yourself. Reframe the inner dialogue to match the kindness you'd give others. The science of reframing. Cognitive behavioral psychology shows that thoughts create emotions, and by changing thoughts, you change emotions. This is called cognitive restructuring. When you practice reframing, you're literally rewiring your brain. You weaken the old negative pathways and strengthen new positive ones. Over time, your inner dialogue shifts naturally. What felt forced at first becomes automatic. A real-life story, Maria's anxiety. Maria struggled with anxiety about public speaking. Her inner dialogue told her, everyone is judging you. You're going to fail. You'll embarrass yourself. Her body responded with panic, shaking hands, racing heartbeat. But she began practicing reframing. She told herself, this anxiety means I care. My body is giving me energy. People want me to succeed. I can focus on helping, not impressing. At first, the new dialogue felt fake, but over time, it stuck. The anxiety never disappeared completely, but it transformed from paralyzing fear into focused energy. Reframing changed not just her emotions, but her performance, and ultimately her confidence. Reframing versus denial. Some people confuse reframing with denial. Denial is pretending the negative doesn't exist. Reframing is facing the negative, but choosing to see it differently. For example, if you lose your job, denial says, "Everything's fine, nothing happened." Reframing says, "This is painful, but it's also an opportunity to grow, learn, and find something better." Reframing is honesty plus empowerment, the daily practice of inner dialogue. To reframe your inner dialogue, practice these steps daily. Notice the story. Pay attention to your thoughts. Challenge the story. Ask, "Is this thought true? Is it helpful?" Reframe the story. Replace it with a perspective that creates empowerment. Repeat. The more you practice, the faster reframing becomes automatic. The deeper truth. Your emotions are not created by the world. They're created by your words. The story you tell yourself is the lens through which you see everything. Change the story and you change the feeling. Change the feeling and you change your actions. Change your actions and you change your life. Your inner dialogue is the steering wheel of your emotions. Hold it tightly. Turn it wisely. Key takeaway. Your emotions don't come from events. They come from the meaning you give to those events. And the meaning comes from your inner dialogue. By reframing your self-talk, by changing the story, you transform the emotions you feel. You can't always change the situation, but you can always change the story. And when you change the story, you conquer the emotion. Lesson 4. The pause between stimulus and response. Between every event that happens to you and the way you respond, there is a space, a small gap. And inside that gap lies the greatest power you will ever have, the power to choose. Most people don't see this space. Something happens and they react instantly. They feel insulted and they lash out. They feel afraid and they freeze. They feel sad and they withdraw. The reaction feels automatic, as if they had no control. But the truth is, there is always a pause. It may be short, it may be subtle, but it exists. And when you learn to recognize and expand that pause, you take back control over your emotions and your life. Asterisk. The power of the pause. Psychologist Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the Holocaust, once said, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." Think about that for a moment. Your emotions may rise quickly, but they do not decide your actions. You do. The pause is where anger can turn into calm, fear can turn into courage, and sadness can turn into wisdom. The pause is not about suppressing your emotions. It's about giving yourself a moment to step back, breathe, and choose the wisest response instead of the fastest reaction. Why we miss the pause. If the pause is always there, why do so many people miss it? Habitual reactions. If you've always yelled when angry, your brain wires that as the automatic response. Emotional intensity. Strong emotions like rage or panic flood the brain, making it hard to notice the gap. Speed of life. We live fast, distracted lives. We rush from one thing to another without slowing down enough to notice the space. Lack of awareness. Without self-awareness, the pause feels invisible. You react without realizing you had a choice. But here's the good news. The pause can be trained. You can practice noticing it, stretching it, and using it. The automatic reaction cycle. Picture this cycle. Stimulus, thought, emotion, reaction. Most people only see the start and the end. Something happens and they react. But between the stimulus and the reaction are thoughts and emotions. For example, stimulus. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Thought, they disrespected me. Emotion, anger. Reaction, shouting, honking, or chasing them. But if you pause, you can intervene at any stage. You can change the thought. Maybe they're in a rush, which changes the emotion, which changes the reaction. The pause is where you rewrite the script. Practical pause technique. Number 1. The 3-second rule. When you feel a strong emotion rising, give yourself 3 seconds before reacting. Inhale deeply, exhale slowly. Ask, what response serves me best here? Those 3 seconds may feel like nothing, but they create enough distance to transform your reaction. Practical pause technique number 2, the name it to tame it rule. In the pause, label the emotion. Say silently, this is anger, or this is fear. By naming the emotion, you activate the logical part of your brain. The act of labeling weakens the emotional surge, giving you more space to choose. Practical pause technique number 3, the physical reset. Strong emotions live in the body. Your fists clench, your heart races, your posture tightens. Use the pause to reset physically. Relax your shoulders, unclench your jaw. Take one slow, deep breath. When the body calms, the mind follows. The science behind the pause. Neuroscience shows that emotions often rise from the amygdala, the brain's alarm system. The amygdala reacts quickly, sending signals of fear, anger, or stress before your logical brain can catch up. But the prefrontal cortex, the rational decision-making part of your brain, needs a few seconds to engage. The pause gives your prefrontal cortex time to take control. That's why even a 3-second pause makes such a difference. Story: Alex's workplace conflict. Alex worked in a high-pressure office. Whenever his boss criticized him, Alex reacted defensively, often snapping back. This created tension, damaged trust, and made things worse. One day, Alex committed to practicing the pause. The next time his boss criticized him, anger surged. But instead of snapping, he took a breath, counted to 3, and said, "I hear your feedback. Can you give me an example so I can improve?" The result? The conversation shifted from conflict to growth. His boss respected him more. Alex felt proud instead of regretful. Nothing about the boss changed. What changed was Alex's use of the pause, expanding the pause from seconds to perspective. At first, the pause may be just a breath, but with practice, the pause can grow longer, even stretching into perspective. For example, instead of reacting to anger in the moment, you might wait a few hours before responding. Instead of making a decision out of fear, you might sleep on it. Expanding the pause gives you time for reflection, wisdom, and better choices. The zoom out pause. Another technique is to use the pause to zoom out. Ask yourself, will this matter in a week? Will this matter in a year? What's the bigger picture here? Suddenly, the intense emotion shrinks. You see beyond the moment, and your response becomes wiser. Practical pause. Technique number 4. Replace reaction with intention. In the pause, ask, what outcome do I want here? Do I want peace? Then reacting with anger won't get me there. Do I want confidence? Then freezing in fear won't get me there. Do I want healing? Then shutting down in sadness won't get me there. The pause shifts you from reaction to intention. Why the pause feels hard? The pause feels unnatural at first. Emotions want speed. They shout, "React now." But that urgency is often false. Unless your life is in danger, you almost always have time to pause. Think of the pause as a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it gets. At first, you may only catch yourself after reacting. That's okay. That's awareness growing. Over time, you'll notice earlier, pause longer, and respond wiser. A deeper story: Sarah's marriage. Sarah and her partner often argued. Every small disagreement spiraled into shouting matches. She felt trapped, hopeless, and exhausted. When Sarah learned about the pause, she decided to try it. During the next argument, her partner raised his voice. Sarah felt anger rising, but instead of shouting back, she paused. She took one deep breath and asked herself, "What do I want here? Do I want to win, or do I want peace?" She chose peace. She responded calmly. I hear you. Let's talk when we're both calmer. The argument ended before it escalated. Over time, this practice transformed their relationship. Fights decreased, communication improved, and Sarah felt in control of herself. The pause saved not just arguments, but the marriage itself, the spiritual dimension of the pause. Many wisdom traditions speak of stillness, silence, or mindfulness. The pause is not just practical, it is sacred. It is the moment where you rise above instinct and touch something higher, wisdom, patience, compassion. In the pause, you connect with your true self, not your anger, not your fear, not your sadness, but the deeper awareness that observes them all. Daily pause practice. To train your pause, try this daily exercise. Morning intention. Say to yourself, today I will pause before I respond. Set a reminder. Place a sticky note on your desk with the word pause. End of day review. Reflect. Where did I react today? Where did I pause? What difference did it make? With practice, the pause becomes natural, automatic, and powerful. The deeper truth. Your emotions may feel strong, but they do not control you. Between the stimulus and your response, there is always a pause. In that pause lies your freedom. The pause is where you stop being a puppet of emotions and start being the master of them. The pause is where you stop reacting and start creating. The pause is where you conquer your emotions, and by doing so, you conquer your life. Key takeaway. You cannot always control what happens to you, but you can always control how you respond. Between stimulus and response lies a pause. In that pause lies your power, your freedom, and your emotional mastery. Train the pause, and you will master not only your emotions, but yourself. Lesson 5. The power of belief in emotion. If thoughts shape your emotions, then beliefs supercharge them. Beliefs are not just passing ideas. They are the core assumptions you hold about yourself, others, and the world. And here's the truth. Your emotions are built on the foundation of your beliefs. Fear, anger, sadness, joy, peace, all of these feelings are tied to the beliefs you hold. If you want to conquer your emotions, you cannot ignore your beliefs, because while emotions come and go, beliefs are the roots that feed them. Asterisk. The bridge between beliefs and emotions. Every emotion you feel has a belief behind it. You feel fear because you believe something dangerous or overwhelming is about to happen. You feel anger because you believe something unfair or unjust occurred. You feel sadness because you believe you've lost something valuable and it won't return. You feel peace because you believe things are okay, safe, or aligned with your values. Change the belief and the emotion changes. If you believe you're powerless, you'll feel hopeless. If you believe you're capable, you'll feel confident, even in the same situation. The hidden nature of beliefs. Beliefs are tricky because most of them operate unconsciously. They're like the operating system of your mind, always running in the background, shaping everything you feel and do. Where do beliefs come from? Childhood experiences and lessons, repeated messages from parents, teachers, or culture, past failures or successes, personal interpretations of events. For example, a child told, "You'll never succeed," may grow up with the belief, "I'm not good enough." A person who was once betrayed may form the belief, "People can't be trusted." Someone praised constantly may form the belief, "I'm valuable and capable." These beliefs, whether true or not, become lenses through which we see life. And emotions flow directly through those lenses. Limiting beliefs and emotional pain. Limiting beliefs are the root of many negative emotions. Belief, "I'm not good enough." Emotion, shame, insecurity, anxiety. Belief, "Life is unfair." Emotion, anger, bitterness. Belief, "Nothing will ever get better." Emotion, sadness, hopelessness. Belief, "I have no control." Emotion, fear, helplessness. The belief fuels the emotion like a fire fuels smoke. If you only fight the emotion without changing the belief, the fire keeps burning. Empowering beliefs and emotional strength. Just as limiting beliefs create destructive emotions, empowering beliefs create powerful emotions. Belief, I am capable of learning. Emotion, confidence, resilience. Belief, challenges are opportunities. Emotion, courage, motivation. Belief, I am worthy of love. Emotion, peace, joy. Belief, I can always choose my response. Emotion, strength, freedom. Your beliefs set the emotional tone of your life. The science of belief and emotion. Psychologists call this the cognitive appraisal theory of emotion. The way you evaluate or believe about an event determines how you feel about it. Two people can face the same situation but have completely different emotions simply because of their beliefs. Person A loses a job and believes, "This proves I'm worthless," feels despair. Person B loses a job and believes, "This is a chance to grow and find something better," feels hope and determination. Same event, different belief, different emotion. Practical belief technique. Number 1. Spot the root belief. When you feel a strong negative emotion, pause and ask, what must I believe to feel this way? Example, emotion, fear before a presentation. Root, belief, if I mess up, everyone will think I'm stupid. Once you uncover the belief, you can challenge it. Practical belief technique. Number 2. Question the belief. Challenge limiting beliefs with these questions. Is this belief absolutely true? Where did this belief come from? Does this belief serve me or sabotage me? What evidence do I have against this belief? Often, you'll find that the belief is not truth. It's just a story you've repeated. And if it's just a story, you can tell a better one. Practical belief technique. Number 3. Replace with empowering beliefs. Don't just remove limiting beliefs, replace them. Write new beliefs that serve you. Examples. Replace, I'm not good enough, with, I'm capable of growth and progress. Replace, life is unfair, with, life challenges me to grow stronger. Replace, I can't control anything, with, I can always control my response. Repeat these beliefs daily. Write them, speak them, visualize them. Over time, they become the new foundation for your emotions. Story: James and the belief of unworthiness. James grew up hearing from his parents that he would never succeed. He carried the belief, I'm worthless. As an adult, this belief created constant anxiety and sadness. Every failure seemed to confirm it. Every success felt like luck. One day, James challenged the belief. He asked, where did this come from? Is it absolutely true? He realized it was just words from people who were hurting themselves. He replaced it with a new belief. I am capable. I can learn. I am worthy. At first, the new belief felt false, but he repeated it daily. Over months, his emotions shifted. Anxiety decreased. Confidence grew. Opportunities opened. By changing one belief, James changed his emotional life. Practical belief technique. Number 4. The as-if principle. Even if you don't fully believe a new empowering belief yet, act as if it were true. If you believed you were capable, how would you act? If you believed challenges were opportunities, how would you respond? If you believed you were worthy of love, how would you treat yourself? By acting as if, you begin to build evidence for the new belief, and soon it becomes genuine. The role of repetition. Beliefs are not changed overnight. They are formed by repetition, and they are replaced by repetition. The more often you repeat, write, and live by new beliefs, the more your brain rewires itself. This is neuroplasticity in action, the brain forming new pathways that support your new belief, and weakening old pathways that supported the limiting belief. The spiritual dimension of belief. Beliefs are not just mental, they are spiritual. Many traditions teach, as you believe, so you become. Beliefs are seeds. Whatever you plant, grows. Plant seeds of fear, and you harvest anxiety. Plant seeds of courage, and you harvest strength. Plant seeds of love, and you harvest peace. Your inner world reflects your beliefs, and your outer world reflects your inner world. Daily belief transformation practice. Awareness. Each day, notice a strong emotion and ask, what belief is behind this? Challenge. Ask, is this belief true? Does it serve me? Replace. Write a new, empowering belief. Reinforce. Repeat it daily. Write it, say it, visualize it. Act. Live as if the new belief is true. Over weeks and months, your beliefs shift, and with them, your emotions transform. The deeper truth. You cannot conquer your emotions if you don't examine your beliefs, because emotions are not random, they're reflections of what you believe. Change the belief, and you change the emotion. Change the emotion, and you change the action. Change the action, and you change your destiny. Beliefs are the foundation. Build wisely. Key takeaway. Your emotions are not caused by events. They are caused by the beliefs you hold about those events. Limiting beliefs create destructive emotions. Empowering beliefs create powerful emotions. By uncovering, challenging, and replacing beliefs, you transform not only how you feel, but who you become. Lesson 6. Replacing emotional triggers. Have you ever noticed how some situations set you off instantly? One word, one look, one sound, and suddenly you're angry, anxious, or sad. These are emotional triggers. They are shortcuts to powerful emotions, often so fast you don't realize what happened until after you've already reacted. If you want to conquer your emotions, you must learn to understand, manage, and eventually replace your triggers. Because while you cannot control everything that happens around you, you can control what sets you off and how you respond. And once you do, you break free from being a prisoner of external circumstances and step into true emotional freedom. Asterisk. What are emotional triggers? Triggers are stimuli, events, words, situations, or even memories that activate strong emotional reactions. Examples. A raised voice might instantly trigger anger. A deadline might trigger anxiety. Silence from someone you love might trigger insecurity. A particular place might trigger sadness. Often, triggers are tied to past experiences. They're like emotional landmines planted long ago. Step on one, and the explosion happens before you even realize it. The science of triggers. Triggers work through associative memory. The brain links present stimuli to past experiences. For example, if you were once humiliated in public, your brain may link crowds or attention with shame. When a similar situation arises, the brain reacts as if the original event is happening again. This is why triggers often feel irrational. Your logical brain may say, "This isn't a big deal," but your emotional brain says, "This is dangerous," because it remembers the past pain. Understanding this helps you realize the trigger is not about the present. It's about an old wound being reactivated. Why triggers control us. Most people don't examine their triggers. They just obey them. Trigger, reaction, regret. A boss raises their voice. Instant anger, argument. A partner doesn't text back. Instant anxiety, overthinking. A mistake happens. Instant shame, self-criticism. Without awareness, you are on autopilot. The trigger pulls the strings, and you dance to its tune. But you can break this cycle. Step 1. Identify your triggers. The first step is noticing what sets you off. Ask yourself, what situations make me lose control? What words or behaviors from others hurt me the most? When do I overreact compared to the situation? Write them down. Make a list. Awareness is power. Step 2. Trace the origin. Once you identify a trigger, ask, where did this come from? Maybe your anger at criticism comes from childhood, where you were judged harshly. Maybe your fear of failure comes from a time when you were punished for mistakes. Maybe your sadness at being ignored comes from a past rejection. When you see the origin, you realize the trigger is not about now, it's about then. This breaks some of its power. Step 3. Reframe the trigger. Once you know the origin, you can reframe how you interpret the trigger. Example: old belief. When someone raises their voice, I'm unsafe. Reframe: a raised voice doesn't define my safety. It's just sound. I can respond calmly. Old belief: if I make a mistake, I'm worthless. Reframe: mistakes are proof I'm learning. They don't define my worth. By reframing, you weaken the trigger's hold. Step 4. Replace the triggered response. You cannot always avoid triggers, but you can replace the reaction they create. Instead of anger, practice calm communication. Instead of anxiety, practice grounding with breath. Instead of sadness, practice gratitude for what remains. Each time you replace a reaction, you build a new association. Over time, the old trigger loses power. Practical trigger replacement technique. Number 1, the if-then plan. Prepare for triggers with a simple rule. If X happens, then I will do Y. Examples: if someone criticizes me, then I will pause, breathe, and ask for clarity. If I feel anxious about a deadline, then I will break the task into small steps. If my partner doesn't reply quickly, then I will remind myself they may just be busy. This pre-decided response gives you control before the trigger takes control. Practical trigger replacement technique. Number 2. Grounding with the 5 senses. When a trigger overwhelms you, shift focus to your senses. 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. This pulls you out of the emotional storm and back into the present moment, where the trigger has less power. Practical trigger replacement technique. Number 3. Breathing reset. The body reacts first to triggers: fast heartbeat, tight chest, clenched muscles. Use breath to reset. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 6 seconds. This signals safety to your nervous system, calming the emotional surge. Story: Rachel and the fear of silence. Rachel always panicked when her partner didn't reply to her texts. Her mind raced. They don't care. They're pulling away. I'm not important. The silence triggered deep insecurity. Through journaling, she realized the origin. Her father had often ignored her as a child. The trigger wasn't about her partner, it was about old wounds. She reframed: silence doesn't mean rejection, it often means busyness. She replaced the reaction by practicing gratitude and self-soothing instead of spiraling. Over time, silence no longer triggered panic. She broke the cycle by replacing the trigger's meaning and her response. The role of environment in triggers. Sometimes triggers live in environments. Certain places, songs or smells may spark strong emotions. If possible, remove or limit toxic environments. But when you can't, practice reframing and replacing. Your power is not in controlling the environment. It's in controlling how the environment affects you. The spiritual dimension of triggers. Triggers are not just obstacles. They are teachers. Every trigger shows you where healing is needed. Instead of resenting triggers, thank them. They reveal the wounds you still carry, and they invite you to grow stronger. When you face a trigger, ask, what lesson is this teaching me? What wound is this showing me? Triggers become opportunities for growth, wisdom, and freedom. Daily trigger transformation practice. Journal. At the end of each day, write 1 trigger you experienced. Identify. Ask, what belief or memory is behind this? Reframe. Write a new, empowering interpretation. Replace. Decide how you will respond differently next time. Practice. Repeat until the new response becomes habit. Over time, the triggers that once controlled you lose their power. The deeper truth. You may not control what others say or do. You may not control every environment or circumstance, but you do control how you interpret and respond to them. Triggers are not chains, they are tests. Every time you replace a triggered reaction with a conscious choice, you weaken the old pattern and build a new one. And with enough practice, you no longer live as a puppet pulled by triggers. You live as a master of your inner world. Key takeaway. Emotional triggers are not enemies. They are signals of old wounds and opportunities for growth. By identifying, tracing, reframing, and replacing them, you transform automatic reactions into conscious choices. You may not erase triggers overnight, but with practice, you take back the power they once held and step into emotional freedom. Lesson 7. Focus determines feeling. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. You're standing in a beautiful meadow on a sunny day. Birds are singing, the air is fresh, and the sky is clear. But right in the corner of the meadow is a pile of trash. If you focus only on the trash, what do you feel? Anger, frustration, disappointment. But if you focus on the vast meadow, the flowers, the breeze, the sunlight, you feel joy, gratitude, peace. The meadow hasn't changed. What changed is your focus. This is the secret of emotions. Where focus goes, feeling flows. What you choose to focus on, whether positive or negative, empowering or discouraging, shapes how you feel in the present moment and how you live your life overall. Asterisk. The power of focus. Your mind is like a spotlight. Wherever you direct it, that's what you see most clearly. And what you see most clearly, you feel most deeply. Focus on problems, feel stressed. Focus on opportunities, feel motivated. Focus on loss, feel sadness. Focus on what remains, feel gratitude. Focus on what you cannot control, feel powerless. Focus on what you can control, feel strong. The world has both beauty and pain, both opportunity and struggle. The question is not what exists, it's what you choose to focus on. The science of focus and emotion. Neuroscience explains this through the reticular activating system, RAS, a network in the brainstem that filters information. Out of millions of stimuli, your RAS decides what to pay attention to based on what you consistently focus on. Example: if you buy a red car, suddenly you notice red cars everywhere. They were always there, but your focus tunes your brain to see them. The same is true with emotions. Focus on fear, and your brain will scan for danger. Focus on gratitude, and your brain will notice blessings. Your focus literally programs your emotional experience of reality. Why we focus on the negative? The human brain evolved with a negativity bias. Our ancestors survived by noticing threats more than opportunities. That bias still exists today. One criticism outweighs 10 compliments. One problem overshadows multiple blessings. One worry drowns out many reasons to be calm. If left unchecked, the negativity bias dominates focus and creates constant stress. But the good news is, focus can be trained. Metaphor: the garden of attention. Imagine your mind as a garden. Focus is the sunlight. Whatever you shine it on grows. If you shine it on weeds, worries, fears, complaints, they flourish. If you shine it on flowers, gratitude, love, opportunities, they thrive. The weeds and flowers will always coexist, but you decide which ones dominate by where you place your focus. Focus in daily life. Let's see how focus shapes common situations. At work, focus on being overwhelmed, feel anxious. Focus on completing one task, feel capable. In relationships, focus on flaws, feel irritation. Focus on strengths, feel appreciation. In health, focus on restrictions, feel deprived. Focus on progress, feel motivated. In setbacks, focus on failure, feel hopeless. Focus on lessons, feel resilient. The event is the same. The feeling changes with focus. Practical focus technique number 1, the gratitude shift. Each time you feel overwhelmed by negativity, ask, what is one thing I can be grateful for right now? Even in hardship, there is something, a breath, a friend, a lesson, a new chance. Gratitude shifts focus instantly and transforms emotion. Practical focus technique number 2, the 3 wins rule. At the end of each day, write down 3 wins, big or small. It could be finishing a project, having a kind conversation, or simply making it through a tough day. This trains your brain to focus on progress, not problems, and fuels positive emotions. Practical focus. Technique number 3, the sphere of control. When stressed, list what's worrying you, then divide into 2 columns. What I can control, what I cannot control. Commit to focusing only on the first column. This shift replaces helplessness with empowerment. Practical focus technique number 4. Ask the focus question. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, ask, what am I focusing on right now? And is it serving me? This question pulls you out of autopilot and gives you a chance to redirect. Story: David and the job loss. David lost his job unexpectedly. At first, his focus went to panic. I'm ruined. I'll never recover. This is a disaster. The more he focused on loss, the more hopeless he felt. But then he shifted. He asked, what can I control? What opportunities are here? His new focus, updating his skills, networking, and applying for new roles. Within months, he not only found a new job, but one better than before. The job loss didn't change. His focus did. And with it, his emotions and outcomes transformed. The cost of misplaced focus. Uncontrolled focus can destroy emotional well-being. Constant focus on the past, regret, sadness. Constant focus on the future, anxiety, fear. Constant focus on comparison, envy, dissatisfaction. But when focus shifts to the present moment, on what is here, now, peace arises. The role of language in focus. Language shapes focus. When you say, I'm stuck, focus is on limitation. I'm learning, focus is on progress. Change your words and you change your focus. Change your focus and you change your emotions. Spiritual dimension of focus. Where attention goes, energy flows. Many traditions teach what you focus on expands in your life. Focus on scarcity and you feel lack. Focus on abundance and you feel blessed. This is not magical thinking, it's alignment. Focus directs your perception. Perception shapes your action, and action creates your reality. Daily focus practice. Morning. Begin by writing 3 things you're grateful for. During the day, when emotions rise, ask, what am I focusing on? Redirect as needed. Evening. Record 3 wins or positives from the day. This daily rhythm rewires your focus over time. Story: Emma and her relationship. Emma loved her partner, but she constantly focused on his flaws, leaving dishes, forgetting dates. This focus fueled irritation and resentment. One day, she committed to shifting her focus. Each day, she noted one thing she appreciated about him. Within weeks, her emotions shifted. She felt gratitude, joy, and deeper love. The relationship transformed, not because he changed, but because her focus did. The deeper truth. Life will always offer both problems and possibilities, weeds and flowers, darkness and light. The difference is not in what exists, it is in what you focus on. Your focus determines your emotions determine your actions, and your actions determine your destiny. When you master your focus, you master your feelings. And when you master your feelings, you master your life. Key takeaway. Your emotions do not come from circumstances, they come from where you focus. Focus on problems and you feel despair. Focus on opportunities and you feel hope. Focus on what you can control and you feel empowered. Your focus is your choice, and that choice is the key to conquering your emotions and creating the life you desire. Lesson 8. The role of positive habits in emotional mastery. Motivation can spark a change, but only habits make it last. One deep breath can calm you once, but a daily breathing habit can transform your entire nervous system. One moment of gratitude feels good, but a habit of gratitude rewires your brain toward joy. One conscious choice not to react in anger is powerful, but a habit of pausing before responding gives you emotional freedom for life. If you want to conquer your emotions, you cannot rely on willpower alone. Willpower is limited. Habits are automatic. When you build the right habits, emotional mastery becomes your default mode of living, not something you have to fight for every day, but something that flows naturally. Asterisk. Why habits matter for emotions. Habits are repeated actions that eventually run without conscious effort. Brushing your teeth, tying your shoes, driving familiar routes, all of these are habits. They free up mental energy because they become automatic. Your emotions, too, are shaped by habits. If your habit is complaining, you'll feel constant irritation. If your habit is gratitude, you'll feel consistent joy. If your habit is reacting quickly, you'll feel regret. If your habit is pausing, you'll feel control. Habits are emotional shortcuts. Build the wrong ones, and you're trapped. Build the right ones, and you're free. The science of habits and emotion. Habits form through a loop. Cue, routine, reward. Example. Cue, stress at work. Routine, eat junk food. Reward, temporary relief. This loop builds emotional habits too. Cue, criticism. Routine, defensiveness. Reward, short-term feeling of protection. The problem? The reward is temporary, but the habit is lasting. To change emotional habits, you must interrupt the loop and create new routines that lead to lasting rewards. Metaphor, the emotional muscle. Think of habits like muscle memory. A pianist doesn't consciously think of every note. They've practiced so much that their fingers play automatically. Your emotions work the same way. If your habit is to panic at stress, you'll panic automatically. If your habit is to breathe deeply at stress, you'll calm automatically. Habits train your emotional muscles. Common negative emotional habits. Many people unconsciously develop habits that sabotage their emotional well-being. Rumination, replaying mistakes or regrets. Catastrophizing, imagining worst-case scenarios. Self-criticism, harsh inner dialogue. Avoidance, numbing emotions with distractions. These habits keep negative emotions alive long after the original event has passed. Replacing with positive habits. The key is not just breaking bad habits, but replacing them with positive ones. Instead of rumination, habit of gratitude journaling. Instead of catastrophizing, habit of solution-focused thinking. Instead of self-criticism, habit of affirmations. Instead of avoidance, habit of mindful awareness. You don't just erase emotional habits, you replace them with better ones. Practical habit technique. Number 1. Habit stacking. Attach a new emotional habit to an existing routine after brushing teeth. Speak one affirmation. During morning coffee, write one gratitude entry. Before sleeping, practice 3 deep breaths. By stacking new habits onto old ones, you make them automatic. Practical habit technique. Number 2. The 2-minute rule. Start small. If you want to build a habit of journaling, start with 2 minutes. If you want to practice meditation, start with 2 breaths. Small habits are easier to repeat, and repetition is what creates permanence. Practical habit technique number 3. Anchor habits. Some habits are anchor habits that influence many emotions at once. Examples: sleep, Good sleep improves patience, focus, and emotional regulation. Exercise, movement reduces stress and boosts mood. Mindful breathing anchors calm responses in all situations. Build anchor habits, and they ripple through your emotional life. Story: Michael and the Habit of Anger. Michael was known for his temper. Any small inconvenience, traffic, long lines, mistakes at work, set him off. He always regretted his outbursts, but anger felt automatic. Through coaching, he learned to replace his anger habit with the pause habit. He practiced. Whenever anger rose, he took one deep breath before speaking. At first, he failed often, but over months, the habit stuck. Soon, his default reaction was no longer shouting, it was pausing. His emotions didn't vanish, but his control did. He transformed his reputation, his relationships, and his peace by changing one habit. The compound effect of emotional habits. Habits seem small, but their effects multiply over time. One day of gratitude feels good. 1 year of gratitude changes your personality. 1 decade of gratitude changes your destiny. Emotional habits compound. They quietly shape the trajectory of your life. Practical habit technique number 4, track and reward. Track your habits with a journal or app. Each day you complete the habit, mark it down. This builds momentum. You won't want to break the chain. Reward yourself for consistency. Rewards reinforce habits and help your brain link them to pleasure. Practical habit technique number 5, replace, don't resist. Trying to resist a negative habit often backfires. For example, saying, "Don't think negatively," only makes negative thoughts stronger. Instead, replace. When a negative habit shows up, shift immediately to a positive one. When fear rises, breathe deeply. When self-criticism appears, say one affirmation. When overthinking begins, write a solution list. Replacement beats resistance. Spiritual dimension of habits. Habits are sacred rhythms. In many traditions, daily rituals, prayer, meditation, chanting are designed to form habits of peace and connection. You may not notice their impact in a single day, but over a lifetime they shape character and destiny. In the same way, daily emotional habits, gratitude, awareness, reflection, shape the spirit of your life. Story: Aisha's transformation through gratitude. Aisha battled depression after a painful breakup. Her habit was replaying painful memories daily. Her therapist encouraged her to build one new habit. Every night, write 3 things she was grateful for. At first, it felt forced. Some nights, all she could write was, "I made it through another day." But she persisted. Over months, gratitude became her default focus. Slowly, her emotions shifted. She found joy again. Not because life became perfect, but because her habits directed her focus toward the light. Her healing didn't come from a single moment of motivation. It came from the quiet power of daily habits. Daily habit-building practice. Choose one habit. Start with a single positive habit. Gratitude, pausing, deep breathing. Anchor it. Attach it to an existing routine. Morning coffee, bedtime, commute. Start small. 2 minutes is enough. Track progress. Use a journal or app. Reward yourself. Celebrate small wins. Replace, don't resist. Use new habits to overwrite old ones. Repeat until it becomes automatic. Then add another habit. Over time, your emotional life transforms. The deeper truth. Motivation is fleeting, willpower fades, but habits endure. The habits you build today become the emotions you live with tomorrow. Build habits of gratitude. Live with joy. Build habits of patience. Live with peace. Build habits of pausing. Live with control. Build habits of awareness. Live with freedom. Habits are destiny in disguise. Choose them wisely. Key takeaway: emotional mastery is not built in a single moment of strength. It is built in daily habits. By stacking, repeating, and reinforcing positive habits, you rewire your brain, reshape your emotions, and redefine your life. You don't rise to the level of your intentions, you fall to the level of your habits. Build habits of strength, and you will conquer your emotions. Lesson 9. The law of consistency. You don't become emotionally strong by what you do once. You become strong by what you do consistently. A single workout won't make you fit. One healthy meal won't transform your body. One deep breath won't erase years of anxiety. True transformation happens through repetition, through small actions done consistently over time. Consistency is the secret ingredient that turns knowledge into mastery, habits into character, and fleeting motivation into lasting change. Without consistency, all the lessons you've learned so far remain ideas. With consistency, they become your new reality. Asterisk. Why consistency matters more than intensity. Most people chase intensity. They want the dramatic breakthrough, the all-night study session, the 30-day challenge, the sudden life overhaul. And while intensity feels exciting, it rarely lasts. Consistency, on the other hand, isn't flashy. It's boring at times. It's repetitive. But it works, because what you repeat daily shapes who you become. One angry outburst doesn't define you, but the habit of outbursts makes you an angry person. One moment of calm doesn't transform you, but the habit of calm responses makes you a peaceful person. One journal entry doesn't shift your mindset, but the habit of reflection makes you wise. It's not what you do once in a while, it's what you do daily, the science of consistency. Your brain thrives on repetition. Each time you repeat a thought or action, you strengthen the neural pathways that support it. This process is called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. Repeat anger, strengthen anger pathways. Repeat gratitude, strengthen gratitude pathways. Repeat fear, strengthen fear pathways. Repeat courage, strengthen courage pathways. Consistency literally reshapes your brain. Every day you practice emotional mastery, even in small ways. You are training your nervous system to make that mastery automatic. The compound effect of consistency. Think of drops of water falling on stone. One drop does nothing, but repeated drops over time carve valleys. Consistency is the same. Tiny actions compound into massive results. This is the compound effect. Small daily changes multiplied by time create transformation far beyond what intensity alone could achieve. One breath, momentary calm, 1,000 breaths over months, lifelong control of stress. One kind thought, instant relief. 1,000 kind thoughts, a mindset of compassion. The trap of inconsistency. Why do people fail to stay consistent? They chase perfection, miss one day and they quit. They want instant results. When change feels invisible, they stop. They underestimate small actions. They think big change requires big effort. They let emotions decide. If they don't feel like it, they give up. The truth: progress is rarely visible in the beginning. Growth often happens underground before it appears above the surface. Metaphor: the bamboo tree. The Chinese bamboo tree takes 5 years of watering before it shows even a sprout above ground. But once it breaks through, it grows up to 80 feet in just 6 weeks. Consistency works the same way. You may water your mind with positive habits daily and see no immediate change. But underground, roots are forming. Then suddenly, breakthrough. Most people quit before the bamboo breaks the surface. Don't quit. Practical consistency technique. Number 1. Start small, stay steady. Consistency doesn't mean doing a lot. It means doing something regularly. Begin small. 1 minute of breathing daily. Writing down one gratitude each night. Pausing once a day before reacting. Small actions are easier to sustain. Sustained actions grow into powerful habits. Practical consistency technique. Number 2. Anchor to rituals. Tie new practices to existing routines. After brushing teeth, repeat an affirmation. Before coffee, write a gratitude note. At bedtime, reflect on one win. Anchoring habits to rituals makes consistency automatic. Practical consistency technique. Number 3. Track progress, not perfection. Keep a simple journal or calendar. Each day you follow your practice, mark it. Over time, the chain of marks becomes motivation. Miss a day? That's okay. Don't aim for perfection, aim for persistence. Missing once doesn't break consistency, quitting does. Practical consistency. Technique number 4. Use the 2-day rule. Never miss more than 2 days in a row. Life will interrupt you sometimes. That's normal. But the 2-day rule prevents small lapses from becoming long-term abandonment. Story: Clara's journey with anxiety. Clara struggled with anxiety for years. She read books, watched videos, attended seminars, but nothing seemed to stick. One therapist told her, stop chasing breakthroughs. Start practicing daily. Clara began with one habit: deep breathing for 2 minutes every morning. At first, it felt too small to matter, but she stayed consistent. Then she added journaling. Then she added gratitude. Months later, Clara realized something shocking. Her default state was no longer panic. It was calm. Not because of a miracle, but because of consistency. Consistency versus motivation. Motivation gets you started. Consistency keeps you going. Motivation is emotional. It rises and falls. Consistency is structural. It holds even when you don't feel like it. That's why systems and routines are more powerful than motivation. If you only act when motivated, you'll fail. If you act consistently, you'll succeed. The role of patience in consistency. Consistency requires patience. Growth often feels invisible at first, but just because you can't see change doesn't mean it isn't happening. Think of teeth brushing. You don't notice the difference daily, but after years of consistency, your teeth are healthy. Emotional mastery works the same way. Spiritual dimension of consistency. Consistency is sacred discipline. Every tradition has daily practices: prayer, meditation, reflection, not because one session changes everything, but because repetition transforms the soul. Consistency builds alignment between your thoughts, actions, and deepest values. It turns fleeting intention into lasting transformation. Practical consistency technique number 5. Accountability. Share your goals with a friend, mentor, or group. Accountability multiplies consistency. Knowing someone will check in helps you show up even when you don't feel like it. Story: Daniel and the fitness of the mind. Daniel wanted to master his temper. He tried dramatic resolutions. I'll never get angry again. Each time he failed, he felt hopeless. Finally, he tried consistency. He committed to 1 pause a day when anger rose, then 2, then more. Over months, his temper shrank. People noticed he was calmer, wiser. Daniel learned the truth. Emotional mastery is not built in a single vow, but in daily, consistent practice. The consistency mindset. To stay consistent, adopt these beliefs. Progress, not perfection. Missing 1 day doesn't mean failure. Small steps matter. Tiny actions compound into big results. Patience pays. Invisible growth is still growth. Identity first. Don't just try habits. Become the type of person who does them. Daily consistency. Blueprint. Morning, 1 small intentional practice. Breathing, gratitude, affirmation. During the day, apply 1 principle consciously. Pause, reframe, refocus. Evening, reflect and record. Journal, gratitude, tracking. Weekly, review progress and reset. This structure builds emotional mastery brick by brick. Metaphor: the sculptor. A sculptor doesn't create a masterpiece with 1 strike of the chisel. They shape slowly, consistently, removing a little each day, adding detail over time. You are the sculptor of your emotions. Every consistent action is a strike of the chisel. Over weeks, months, years, you carve the masterpiece of your emotional life. The deeper truth. Consistency is the ultimate superpower. It's not glamorous, it's not instant, but it's unstoppable. One day of strength is good. A lifetime of strength is great. One moment of peace feels nice. A consistent habit of peace feels unshakable. One decision of courage matters. A consistent practice of courage makes you fearless. Consistency turns sparks into flames, flames into fire, fire into light. Key takeaway. Consistency is the bridge between intention and transformation. Motivation starts the journey, but consistency completes it. Small actions, repeated daily, compound into mastery. Stay steady, stay patient, stay consistent, and you will conquer not only your emotions, but your destiny. Lesson 10. Mastery through emotional freedom. The goal of conquering your emotions is not to suppress them, not to deny them, not to pretend they don't exist. The goal is freedom. Freedom from being ruled by emotions you don't understand. Freedom from being hijacked by old triggers and patterns. Freedom from being trapped by fear, anger, or sadness. Emotional mastery doesn't mean you never feel negative emotions. It means negative emotions no longer control your decisions, your behavior, or your destiny. You will still feel anger, but it will no longer own you. You will still feel fear, but it will no longer cage you. You will still feel sadness, but it will no longer define you. That is emotional freedom, not the absence of emotions, but the mastery of them. Asterisk. What emotional freedom really means. Freedom is not numbness. Freedom is clarity. Emotional freedom means you can feel anger without exploding. It means you can feel fear without retreating. It means you can feel sadness without sinking. It means you can feel joy without depending on circumstances. It is the ability to observe emotions as signals, interpret them with wisdom, and respond with choice. The journey we've taken. Let's look back at what we've uncovered. Thoughts shape emotions. What you think repeatedly creates what you feel. Awareness is emotional power. You cannot change what you don't notice. Reframing changes the story. Events don't create emotions, your interpretation does. The pause creates choice. Between stimulus and response lies freedom. Beliefs are the foundation. Change beliefs, and you change emotions at the root. Triggers can be replaced. What once hijacked you can become an opportunity for growth. Focus directs feelings. Where attention goes, emotion flows. Habits shape your emotional life. Small repeated actions create mastery. Consistency is the key. Not what you do once, but what you do daily transforms you. And now, in Lesson 10, we bring all of this together. Emotional freedom is the union of all lessons. When you combine awareness, reframing, pausing, belief work, trigger replacement, focus, habits, and consistency, you arrive at freedom. Freedom is not built in a single step. It is the fruit of all steps together. Each lesson is like a tool. Emotional freedom is using them in harmony. The myth of control versus the truth of mastery. Many people confuse emotional mastery with control. They think, if I conquer my emotions, I will never feel them again. That's impossible and unhealthy. Emotions are not enemies to destroy. They are signals to understand. Emotional freedom doesn't silence emotions. It listens, interprets, and chooses wisely. Think of emotions like weather. You cannot stop rain, but you can carry an umbrella. You cannot prevent wind, but you can adjust your sails. Emotional freedom is not controlling the weather. It's mastering how you move through it. The 3 levels of emotional freedom. Level 1. Awareness of emotions. You notice emotions when they rise. You no longer live blindly, ruled by reactions. Level 2. Choice of response. You pause, reframe, and respond intentionally. Emotions become guides, not dictators. Level 3. Identity as master. You no longer see yourself as someone with anger or someone with fear. You see yourself as the master who observes, understands, and directs emotions. At this level, freedom becomes part of who you are, not just something you practice, but something you embody. Metaphor: the rider and the horse. Emotions are like a powerful horse, strong, fast, unpredictable. Without mastery, the horse drags you wherever it wants. But with training, you become the rider. The horse still runs, still feels energy, but now it carries you where you choose to go. Emotional freedom is not killing the horse, it's learning to ride it with grace. Practical freedom technique. Number 1. The observer self. Step into the role of the observer. When emotions rise, say, "I notice anger," or "I notice fear." This creates distance. You are not the emotion, you are the awareness behind it. Practical freedom technique. Number 2. Emotional alchemy. Emotional alchemy is the practice of turning negative emotions into positive energy. Fear, courage. Fear is energy pointing to growth. Anger, justice. Anger signals values being violated. Sadness, compassion. Sadness deepens empathy. When you see emotions as raw energy, you can redirect them into higher expressions. Practical freedom technique. Number 3. The freedom pause. Each time you feel an emotion rising, use the pause to ask 3 questions. What am I feeling? What belief or thought is behind it? What is the most empowering response I can choose? This turns the pause into a freedom ritual. Story: Maya and the storm of grief. Maya lost her mother suddenly. The grief was overwhelming. At first she drowned in sadness, unable to work or connect with others. But as she practiced the principles, she found freedom. She allowed herself to feel the sadness, but she didn't let it define her. She reframed grief as a testament to love. She built habits of journaling, gratitude, and reflection. Over time, the storm of grief softened into waves of peace. Maya's story reminds us, emotional freedom doesn't mean avoiding pain, it means transforming it. The spiritual dimension of emotional freedom. Freedom is not just psychological, it is spiritual. When you master emotions, you realize you are not your emotions. You are the consciousness behind them. Anger rises, but you are not anger. Fear rises, but you are not fear. Sadness rises, but you are not sadness. You are the one who notices, who chooses, who directs. That realization is liberation. The role of purpose in emotional freedom. Freedom is not just about removing suffering, it's about living with purpose. When you have a strong purpose, emotions lose their power to derail you. Fear says, stay safe. Purpose says, keep going. Sadness says, give up. Purpose says, keep moving. Anger says, strike back. Purpose says, stay aligned. Purpose is the anchor of freedom. Daily emotional freedom practice. Morning, set intention. Ask, what emotions do I choose to embody today? During the day, when emotions rise, pause and practice the freedom questions. Evening, reflect. Where did I notice emotions? Where did I choose wisely? Where can I grow? Weekly, reconnect with your purpose. Remind yourself why you are mastering emotions. This practice turns freedom into a lifestyle. Story: Jonathan and the boardroom. Jonathan was a CEO, known for his intelligence, but also for his temper. One bad meeting could ruin his entire week. His team walked on eggshells around him. After nearly losing his company due to strained relationships, Jonathan committed to emotional mastery. He learned to pause, reframe, and redirect focus. He practiced daily habits and stayed consistent. Months later, his board noticed something. Jonathan was calmer, clearer, more decisive. conflicts no longer rattled him. He had not lost his passion, he had gained freedom. His company thrived, but more importantly, so did his inner life. The ripple effect of freedom. When you achieve emotional freedom, the benefits extend beyond yourself. Your relationships improve. You respond with patience and love. Your work improves. You lead with clarity and wisdom. Your health improves. Stress no longer rules your body. Your life improves. You live aligned with purpose, not emotion. Your freedom becomes a gift to everyone around you. Metaphor. The calm lake. Picture a lake on a windy day. Waves crash, water churns, chaos reigns. Now picture the same lake on a calm morning, still, reflective, peaceful. Your emotions can be the storm or the calm lake. Freedom is not about eliminating wind. It's about becoming the stillness beneath it, the deeper truth. The true victory in life is not conquering the world, it's conquering yourself. You cannot control every storm outside, but you can master the storm within. When you achieve emotional freedom, nothing outside can enslave you. Circumstances may shake, people may fail you, life may wound you, but you remain free. And that freedom is the foundation of strength, peace, and purpose. Key takeaway. Emotional mastery is not about suppressing feelings, it is about freedom. Freedom to feel without being ruled. Freedom to choose your response. Freedom to live with clarity, wisdom, and strength. When you master your emotions, you no longer live as a prisoner of anger, fear, or sadness. You live as the master of your inner world. And when you master your inner world, you master your life. Closing statement. You have reached the end of this journey, but in truth, this is only the beginning. You have discovered the principles, the tools, the stories, and the practices that can help you rise above the storms of emotion and step into the calm strength of mastery. Think back to where we started. Emotions often feel like forces beyond your control, sweeping you into anger, fear, sadness, or anxiety before you can even breathe. But now you know the truth. You know that your thoughts shape your emotions. You know that awareness gives you power. You know that the pause creates choice, that beliefs shape your foundation, that triggers can be replaced, that focus directs your feelings, that habits build your emotional muscle, and that consistency carries you to transformation. And finally, you know that mastery is freedom. Freedom not from emotions themselves, but from their control over you. Remember this, emotions are not your enemy. They are signals, they are energy, they are messengers. When you learn to listen without being ruled, when you learn to feel without being enslaved, when you learn to choose instead of react, you become free. And freedom changes everything. From this moment forward, you are no longer a prisoner of anger, fear, or sadness. You are the master of your inner world. You can face storms without breaking. You can feel deeply without drowning. You can rise again and again with strength, wisdom, and peace. So as we close this book, I want to leave you with one final challenge. Do not just listen, live. Take one principle, one habit, one lesson, and put it into practice today. Then tomorrow, then the next day. Consistency will carve freedom into your very being. You are capable, you are resilient, you are free. This is your life, this is your mind, these are your emotions, and now you have the power to conquer them.